Hi, I'm Professor Kevin of English 161, and I'd like to explain what I learned as a student back in the day. So, I believe the most important aspect to a writer is their ability to learn from their mistakes. I mean, all my students have written many essays this semester, and each essay was meant to target a specific genre of writing and force you to use different styles of approach to write essays that you are not comfortable with. Each one presents a unique set of problems, but later they all come together for the final essay, which is what you learned as a student, and then that will employ everything that you've learned through your three major essays: the abstract, the speech, and the argumentative paper. Everything you learn can be applied in other classes as well as your professional careers, because writing never goes away. It's always useful. You need to know how to write formally, non-formally, summarize, not put your opinion in, from a variety of different things you need to learn. But number one is never procrastinate while writing an essay, because it will never work out for you. Okay, for the first essay, while constructing the essay on the Singer solution to world poverty, it was a abstract essay, and the first problem faced was condensing the 11-page argument into 2 pages maximum, because all you wanted was the summary of the essay. So it was 10 pages, and basically you had to condense it into two and just summarize without giving any of your opinions or anything like that, basically. And you didn't want to leave out any critical points, because those are what you want to get at without too much fluff, I guess you could say. And Singer's way of getting his example across is through two stories, one with Bob and one with Dora, and you have to decide, how do I use them? And that's the difficult part. They're very long stories, and you have to condense them into maybe 2 paragraphs and then elaborate on what he's trying to get at with those stories. And once you do that, that means that you are good to go, basically. That means you know what you're doing, and you can write an abstract very efficiently. And another problem people face are structural issues. I've even faced them. And the best way to get around it is to write possible outcomes for your essay, and basically choose which one you find the best, I guess you could say. So if you write three, pick the best one you find of the three, and then try to run with that. And if you can't, then you can go back to your other one. And that's how I usually structure mine, so I could find the best flow for the text and what makes the most sense while reading it, of course. So outline, basically write an outline. It's the most important part of writing, because you always need an outline, because they're very important for starting your writing, because you know if you don't have an outline, you have no track to follow or to set for yourself. So always have an outline. Shit, is it backwards or whatever? All right, the second problem I faced while writing, my students faced, was the speech. I'm done with this whiteboard. The speech was very important, because it shows you how to also get in front of an audience and just teach the way, or lecture like a teacher would, or teach students from a different standpoint. And I noticed that there are many problems faced while writing these. Some of them personal problems would be you have to read the argument very carefully, because the misplacement of a certain letter, like A, from a just argument to just, or a just country to just a country, can make the difference between the right answer in your essay or the wrong answer. And you don't want to answer the wrong thing if you work so hard to answer it. So always read your prompt very carefully, and then once you follow your outline, everything should just be a breeze. And another problem, I guess you could say, is a thesis formulation, but that shouldn't be too difficult, knowing that if you read the argument very carefully, you basically kind of just answer the question. So if I can see how it poses some difficulty, but it shouldn't pose too much. And if you ever need like help with it, you can always ask someone, because that should be the like not the easiest part, but that's if you don't write a very good worded thesis, you cannot write a very good paper. So always start and spend a sufficient amount of time on writing your thesis. The next part would be making appeals or just following a rubric. Like the appeal to ethos, logos, and pathos is the essay. For the speech, because you want to appeal to each one using rhetorical devices, but sometimes that could be a problem if you don't know what you're doing or you're not paying attention while you're learning it. So always make sure you're ready for whatever you do, and if it requires a little extra work, such as researching the topics on your own to get a better understanding of it, you should do that, because you want to become a better writer yourself, not just stay mediocre. And if you really want to become a better writer, you will spend the time to research and do whatever you need to do, And but yeah, that's part of a speech. Also, like always dress formally when you're giving a speech or any presentation like that, because that will help your appeal to ethos, which it ethic. No, sorry. It will help your appeal in general, because, when when you look formal, that just shows how how formal you look. Will just tell you, how important it is. 1 second. Ethos, yes, it is an appeal to ethos, okay, and your appeal to ethos is greatly improved when you look professional and ready to deliver an important speech, You're not just going to show up in gym shorts. You want to show nice, like, dressed up, maybe some khakis or a belt, something like that. But another problem with the argumentative paper specifically is structure. Many people had difficulty structuring quotes, because quotes are something you need to get, and then once integrating them is a little difficult for some students, because some people they put in the reference page and then they use like a citation source, so never do that. You always want to handwrite your citations following the guidelines so you do it correctly and not take the easier way out. But then throughout your paper, you got to make sure you announce the author's full name and his article, so then when you insert his quote at the end, you just put parentheses, his last name and the page you found it on, and that'll save you a lot of like problems or any problem, because the mistake of incorrect citation or just forgetting to cite certain areas can result with plagiarism, which is a very big offense in college or anywhere whatsoever, because you are stealing someone's work, even if accidental. You always want to make sure you double, triple check. You never want to do anything to hurt your chances, even though it was an accident. It's kind of hard to explain if you messed up, But another problem would be conclusions. Many students face problems with conclusions because while writing conclusions, most people just summarize what happened in the paper or this or that, but there's a variety of different things you could do with a conclusion. You can use it to answer a question that was a problem, like in the argumentative paper, what was the greatest threat to social justice? You could talk about fixing the problem in your conclusion, or you can bring up a counter argument that the other side has in your conclusion and then address the flaws with their counter argument and just talk about other things. You don't always have to restate it if it's already restated before. You can just have a little snippet for restating, but the rest of it should just be used for, what can I say? Like, talk about something new, answer any questions, show your credibility, show you know what you're talking about, have some sources. Just prove your point, a little stronger by showing the other side maybe the counter argument, so you can counter their points as well as make your own, so the reader knows that you did your research and you should know what you're talking about. But Also, the one thing that people need to take away is never use vague words such as like all of us and everyone, because anyone will pick apart those words because you cannot just assume everyone, everything is like a possible or viable option because it is not. You cannot say everyone or because not everyone can be on that same boat or follow the same thing that you're saying. So you want to avoid with such words like that or like from the beginning of time. It's a very irrelevant phrase and you should avoid it at all costs and just don't use it really. I would avoid it as all time. And the last thing I want to say is always be like punctual, turn your papers in on time. You don't want to take a deduction. And never ever procrastinate because as a college student, I also learned that procrastinating never works out in the long run because you always end up wasting your time. And on the night it's due, you might be typing it out. But what's the point of that? Why not just space it out and make it good? Because, your name's on it. You should be proud when you turn something in with your name on it. You don't want to just half-ass it, basically. You want it to be very genuine and something that shows your ability personally as a person or as a writer. And if you procrastinate and you just like half-ass the paper, you're not showing what you could do. Your professor will never know how talented you are, and no one else will, and they won't be able to help you in the long run. And yeah, that's it. This is Professor Kevin Chada signing out. Thank you.